who's our CMO. Freddie is in Poland, and he'll be coming back next week. He has to do some paperwork, but he'll be joining us for the next AMA. So let's go straight into it. I think just to give you guys a bit of some updates. In terms of the team, as you know, we had to fire 4 of our former devs, and we've rebuilt the team pretty quickly. We've been very lucky to find some really good talent. And we have a new CTO in the form of Mike Chui, who's based in China. As I mentioned, we have Ted Chantarawanik. Sorry, Ted, if I butchered that, based in Thailand. He's doing our marketing. Another new member is Andy Lee, who's a front-end dev. He's also based in China. And we have Grigory Park, who's a front-end dev, who's based in Russia. We have a new designer who is doing a lot of UI, UX improvements for us, based out of Portugal, Pedro Costa. We also have Bikas Lin, who's a front-end dev based out of Hong Kong. And we have Mr. Meng Lin, no relation, also front-end dev, also based in Hong Kong. And we also have Hugh Meng, who's a smart contract developer, also based out of Hong Kong. So we've been really fortunate to rebuild the team fairly quickly, and I might say I think we've definitely have a better team now. I know that any project would probably want to say that, but I can tell you that Fred and I think some of the other people from before are all very impressed by the speed at which and the precision with which the team is working now. And so we're really happy and we're really optimistic about the future. To move on, just some insights in terms of what the dev team is up to. We're currently still investigating the attack, and really because yeah, as a lot of you will know, the attack was, or the exploit was automated. So a whole bunch of transactions happened in a very short span of time. And obviously in terms of in order to do the compensation, we need to ascertain everybody's holdings, and we obviously don't want to include the attacker in that. And hence we have to go through every single transaction and make sure that all of them are legit and filter out the wrong ones. So it's a lot of work. The devs are doing pretty much microscopic investigations, also looking at the code, looking at the financial logic, potential security holes, the overall software architecture, if it makes sense long term. These are all things that, yeah, a lot of projects would have had to do this early on, and perhaps it's a blessing in disguise to some extent. So we definitely hope to come out of this with a much more secure and safe platform for everyone to use. In terms of the timeline, as mentioned, we're looking at we're estimating roughly 2 to 3 months. That's for a relaunch, and as Freddie already mentioned, we are definitely not launching without completed audits. So we're going to let everything take its course. You will have to be patient with us, but as we all kind of know now, it's best not to rush. Currently, we can't give you a more precise timeline, but obviously as the weeks go by and as we get through with the work, we can be much more certain about the prospective launch. Okay, Ted, shall we go through the questions perhaps?
Yeah, absolutely. Shall I just shoot them to you?
Yeah, let's go. Let's take it from straight from the refunds. Let's go with that.
Of course. So a lot of you guys have been asking, can we get a refund for tokens still vesting? Obviously, due to the vesting period, this changed the timeline dramatically, and so a lot of people do say a refund should be offered. Now, to kick it off, we're not going to be offering a refund in the way that people, a lot of people expect a direct refund. Um, However, we as a team, we think project delays are absolutely not grounds for an immediate refund. If there was one, it would only be fair to refund it at the purchase price value, right? So as a team, we doubt that such a scheme would enjoy widespread support from not only investors right now, but also future investors if applied. So, Greg, you want to go over the
Yeah.
project requirements?
So as Ted mentioned, we don't think it's a case for a straight up refund. We think it's a case for compensation. That's for sure. Obviously, things were lost, but yes, basically, it's not like the tokens that are currently still vesting can just be exchanged for funds, even if it is at the purchase price, at the pre-sale price. I think it doesn't make sense, and I'm fairly certain that it just wouldn't be supported by pretty much anyone, because if we did do it, we'd have to apply to everyone. So I think it's a no-go. And you guys have to appreciate as well, we have to balance the requirements of the project. We need LP, we need a variety of things with the demands from the community, and we understand that you do want to be compensated, but we can only take that so far. So we've got to balance everything out, and we mustn't lose sight of the overall objective, which is to launch the DEX and to have a successful project for the years to come. So I think everybody should focus on that, and appreciate also that we're doing the very best we can with the situation. Yep.
So what does this actually mean? You guys probably thinking, so does this mean you're not going to compensate us? Um, so I want to expand more on what compensation scope is. So we did push out on Twitter that a snapshot will be taken and users would be compensated. Now, the answer, you know, to to just put it out is yes, as communicated or very early on, we will be compensating users. So our compensation scheme will comprise of about two different elements, um, which is a blanket snapshot-based compensation that will aim to reinstate your holdings to equivalent monetary value. Now, I want Greg to expand on, what's going to happen to your LPs as well, and also
Well,
more on the compensation.
yeah, the basic, I think that the principle to keep in mind overall in how we're trying to do this is that we're going to try and reinstate monetary value, because that's constant through time. It's the more workable solution, basically. And so in terms of your LP tokens, their value will be exactly the same as it was prior to the hack. In terms of your stake tokens, the value will be exactly the same as prior to the hack. So all will be the same. It's really the only way to ensure that people don't lose out, and there's not certain cases which do and certain that don't. And it's the fairest way, I think, from what I could see. Also, some people asked, if I had Cross token in my wallet, will I receive new tokens? Yes, you will. Again, the wallet as well. Obviously, they may not be airdropped into your wallet. We're going to look at the exact mechanics of it, how we're going to deliver things. But again, the underlying principle is that users should not lose out, and hence the value should be reinstated. Now, one related point to the scope of the compensation was for people who bought the dip. so to speak. Now, to be fair, I think, let's unpack that a little bit. And I think also it's worth mentioning. I mean, I saw the conversations in Telegram regarding dip buying, and people getting pretty heated with each other about what in the end are investment strategies and preferences. I don't think we should be um, blaming each other or looking upon each other in a way like, just because you're selling some cross, it doesn't mean you don't support the project. We welcome really all sorts of market players, and in fact, for price discovery, you really need everyone. You need the speculators, you need the short termers, you need the long termers, you need the faithfuls, you need everybody, and everybody's welcome. So let's not make big debates about investment strategies in our community. Everybody's welcome to do with their money as they please. Everybody's trying to make a profit. I think that's the healthy basis of this whole undertaking, and it should be welcomed rather than looked down upon. So I just want to say that, and so for the dip buyers, like I said, I do think some people, as it often happens with exploits, some people buy in really quickly, really low, in the hope that they might get some kind of airdrop or compensation at a price superior than their buy-in price. Um, to me, that's not legitimate behavior, or not behavior that in any case we want to reward. Therefore, whilst we do want to do something and we're working on it, it's not yet as defined as we need it to be. We're working on something to offer some kind of compensation to genuine dip buyers, or people that we can, in most reasonable terms, try to identify as genuine dip buyers. Um, but yeah, if, for example, if you bought very low and then sold 5 minutes later, because, or 20 minutes later, I'm not sure that qualifies, to be honest, because that for me is a purely speculative trade. And in looking at compensation within this context, then um, I'd I'd be inclined to discard the speculative trades basically from entitlement. Um, so let's move on. What's the next thing, Ed?
Yeah, so a lot of users are asking when exactly will the compensation be distributed.
Okay. That's as yet undefined. What's most likely, I think, is that we want to try and get everybody farming and staking again at launch. So we definitely want to provide at least part of the compensation prior to launch or at launch, so that everybody can get involved. Um, but for the remainder, we haven't yet defined it, but it's going to have to be staged, uh, merely because of well, basically, um, uh, we're running low on cash, and we need to provide liquidity. There's a whole bunch of things we still need to be able to do. So we're going to have to watch our pockets a little bit. And so it'll be planned out. And again, I think that'll become much clearer in the weeks ahead.
Okay. And, as mentioned before, people ask how long till launch. So we currently expect 2 to 3 months. And on top of that, a lot of people are asking, why do the devs want us to leave tokens locked? Why should they not move tokens around at all, Greg?
Right now, we just because we're basically having to reconcile. The whole blockchain is a huge ledger. We have to go back to a point in time where the hack didn't happen. That's our starting point, and then we need to reconcile a whole bunch of transactions and records, and filter out a whole bunch which are deemed illegitimate. So the less we move things around, the better for us. So we'd kindly ask you guys to really not do anything. Just wait for us to tell you when things are ready, and to then take the necessary steps. Yep.
Okay. Um, and the application is down. Why can people not connect their wallets to the website?
Again, that's on purpose, because the hacker kept exploiting the site for several days, and we locked everything down that we possibly could, and just to discourage any kind of movements or anything, we've also locked down the website. So that is why you're not able to connect the wallet at this time.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Greg. Let's talk about relaunch. So
Yep.
aside from the functionalities released in the initial launch, do we plan to include other features or milestones?
Um, well, I think well, features. It's difficult to call it a feature, but we're re-auditing the entire code. So I think security is obviously it's something that people never really consider until things go wrong. But it's that's our main feature, is really making sure that our code base is as near to perfect as possible. Our new team is extremely diligent about that, and I'm so happy about that, because it's reassuring. And I think when you're dealing with other people's funds, that's the kind of approach you need, something very rigorous and detailed. So the first feature, if you like, is enhanced security, enhanced testing. Um, and then as part of, on top of that, we're also considering, and really just consideration at this stage, but we're thinking about potentially either right away launching on Phantom or Polygon, or doing so shortly after relaunch. So that's one big thing that we're thinking about. I should also mention that, I mean, functionalities, again, it's not a real functionality that people see, but we're also upgrading our contracts so that the contracts themselves become upgradable. That wasn't the case before, unfortunately. But now our new team is putting all the infrastructure in place to make sure that that kind of thing is optimized in future.
Thank you, Greg. And to add on top of that, I also want to mention to all our users that I myself, alongside our UI UX, we're working diligently to create a new fresh look for the DApp as well. So we expect a much cleaner look, a much better feel, and I would say more functionality when it comes to user experience. So to move on, another question from the community, Greg, is what will the price be at relaunch?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. We're going to set the price at the same level as during the previous launch, so 0.95 BUSD. That's because, well, basically it makes it easier to get everybody back to the same value. Yep.
Yep. And I hope this reassures everyone. You know, we are working hard to get things back to where it was. Moving on to mechanics, so a lot of users are wondering, will the migration to the new contracts be automatic, or do vested coins have to be migrated from 1.0 to 2.0, just like last time it was migrated from 1.0 to 1.1?
Or yes, that's a good point. Well, that's not yet defined as well. We're looking at the easiest way to do it, and the way that demands the least from our users. So it may also be that we for example, for the pool, the staking pools, that we open a special staking pool and drop all the coins in there. So people just need to log in, and the coins are already in there. Um, it depends. We still have to define it, but again, that's something that'll be much clearer in the weeks ahead.
What do they do with their stake tokens?
For the moment, don't do anything. Those tokens are essentially dead, and they'll be replaced. So nobody needs to try to withdraw their tokens from any staking pool or anything, you're just wasting your gas fees. Best to just leave everything as it is, please.
So the bottom line here, Greg, is that vesting tokens, stake tokens, and liquidity pool tokens will all be replaced on Relaunch. Is that correct?
That's correct. The value of users' holdings in all three cases will be reinstated.
Will they be on the website or
I'm sorry?
wallets? So those staked LPs and the farms, will they actually appear on the website or in our wallets?
I think most likely they'll appear on the website because it'll just be easier for you guys.
Yeah,
if we do it
I
that way.
prefer
So
that. I think that's
yeah,
easier.
we're hoping for the
Thanks.
least friction, basically.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, Ted, any other questions that we haven't covered yet?
Yeah. You know, let's talk about pending rewards, right? So
Okay,
community is always asking, what about pending rewards? Are they still accumulating and are they valid?
Okay, that's a contentious issue, I know, and everybody, I wish I could say yes, but the fact is, the exploit basically emptied the rewards. After that, because of the various transactions that happened, the reward calculations went berserk. There's no way that we can roll that back to something and calculate people's entitlement in a way that would make any sense. So I think we just have to accept that the rewards are gone. Luckily, nobody's lost, actual holdings, but the rewards are unfortunately gone, and there's no way that we can compensate for them.
Oh, can I to ask a question?
Sure. Yeah.
Hey, I just have a question about the roadmap. Do you think this will affect the roadmap? Will you have change it to a new roadmap or not? Also, um, the issue that happened, I was reading the messages and seems like it happened from like your former team. Uh, have you like implement anything like any trust level with your current team, like so for it to not happen again? Thank you.
Okay. So the first question was about sorry, what? Can you briefly repeat that? I didn't hear that very well. Whether we implement safety measures?
The roadmap. My first question was the roadmap.
Yeah.
You have to update the roadmap.
Yes. Okay. For the roadmap, just let me answer that quickly. We're definitely going to have to update that. No doubt this has delayed us. So I'm very hopeful that the improvements in what we're doing are longer term or medium term, they're going to pay off and leave us at the same state in terms of progress. But at least in the short term, we will be revising the roadmap according to to what's happened. So yes. And secondly, your question was about security measures that we've put in place. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
In terms of security measures, well, it's a slow process. We definitely learned from our experience, let's say it that way. So now every developer who works with us, and even every moderator in future, will have to be doxed. We'll keep their files on record. And we'll also be looking at new CTO. We're going to be looking at ways to make sure that the dev environment and the code review and all the overall process flows are secured as much as possible.
Were the previous devs doxed that were involved?
Yes, they were actually. not all of them, because I mean, on our website we had the core team, and then we had some more contractors, but the core team was all doxed, yes.
And so, are we pursuing that any further in terms of what they did?
That's a question we wanted to address as well. Is basically right now we're trying to resolve it privately. We're still hopeful that maybe there's some kind of way to resolve things, or at least to repair some of the damage. If that doesn't happen, I think we don't have too much choice but to report it. So so yeah, but you know, as you might imagine, these are processes which are very long-winded, and you know, I'm not too. I mean, it's not part of our strategy in terms of recovery to, you know, try and seek justice. That's something we may never see. So I think um, we'll just kind of uh, you know, pursue it in parallel, but it's not going to be the focus of our activities. So because we want
Sure.
to do the decks and basically move on.
Sure. Are you able to release the names of who did it?
Not as yet. I mean, we're you know, we before we submit them to law enforcement, we can't really discuss it too much.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, sure.
Oh, Greg, Vash
Yeah.
the Stampede wanted to say something. I had to mute him, but I will unmute him, so he will be free to
Yeah.
speak.
Sure. Go ahead.
Feel free to speak, Vash.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Hi, Dash.
All right. Hey, how are you guys? How's everybody?
Pretty good.
Good to hear. All right. So the question or questions that I had were regarding the APRs for both the liquidity provision and the staking. So for the first 2 weeks, from what I understood, those rates were higher by some type of multiplier than what they were going to be after the initial 2 weeks of launch. So are those first 2 week APRs going to be restarted, or are they going to be picked up from how far we were into the launch of the project?
No, given we're that's a good question. Given that we're reissuing, you know, we're redeploying a new token, we'll start everything from the beginning. And hence also the plan for the initial emission during those initial 14 days will be as before, and hence more than after that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions, or shall we move? I think there's still some community submitted questions that we get through with Ed. But if
I got a question, if I can. My question is, like, when we relaunch, can we like do something so we don't get a dump, like maybe fast the 80% or 75% of the tokens and release them later on, you know?
I think that's a very good idea, and we're discussing ways of doing that, because obviously one issue that we face now is that in 3 months' time, say, most people's tokens will have vested, and hence there is a danger of a dump, and a significant one, and hence to kind of recreate this, what we plan to do is trying to recreate the conditions that we had when we first launched. Hence, we're looking at ways of either perhaps setting up special pools which have an X-day lock.
Yeah, maybe
for
like
example.
a staking lock.
Exactly. So that maybe we you know, we stagger the release a little bit. Otherwise, as I mentioned at the beginning of the AMA, there's also some ideas surrounding you know, actually releasing the compensation in tranches, which starting from, you know, a launch, and then slightly after launch, and then a little bit later, so that we don't this issue of potentially people panicking and us as a community basically killing the project ourselves.
Yeah, and we also got like the vesting tokens from staking, the
Yeah.
XCSS. They also gonna get compensated, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Could you do
Sure.
a sell tax for the first, say, 24 to 48 hours?
Not without modifying the contracts significantly. I mean, we could. I think. Well, actually, there's a point. I mean, we could increase there's a tiny tax on transactions in the cross contract, and that's something we could play with potentially. But it does mean that also, you're also preventing buyers because it's not a one-way tax. It's a transaction tax, so it's on buys as well.
Sure.
But it's an idea to play with. Perhaps we could increase that for a few days. Also, just because we have to consider ways of getting the liquidity back up as well, because we're not sure about user behavior. So yeah, those are all considerations we have to think about.
Thanks.
Sure.
Hey Greg, just a quick question. Have you guys consider having like VCs involved in the projects to give you like more exposure?
Sorry, to do what?
I was asking if you guys have consider working with like any VCs to give like your project more exposure,
To work with VC?
like venture capital.
Yes. Well, it was something that we did think about initially, and initially we definitely didn't want it, because of the tendency for big dumps, and because they do tend to hold a lot of the supply. What we Nobody knows about the future, and especially now with the exploit. We There is a thread of discussion ongoing about refinancing if we need it, and what the avenues would be. So that's where maybe something like VC funding could still be considered, but at least now we're not at the same stage as we were 8 months ago. So the buy-in price is very different, so the overall balance is different. So in short, it's something that we're kind of peripherally keeping in our minds as a possibility, but we're not now actively pursuing it, because right now the entire focus is on getting this thing back on track, and getting to market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Ted, did we have any other questions? Sorry.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
actually had one other question.
Yeah,
please go ahead.
Who? Me or somebody else?
Uh, I think it was your turn, Bash. I think you were on.
All right, so my question was regarding something that you mentioned earlier. Right after the exploit, people who bought and then people who bought and sold very quickly. You said something about not rewarding, but I guess compensating the people who bought and held rather than the people who bought and sold. So,
Yeah.
like, what do you mean? So, all right, so my thing is, me, for example, I purchased after the exploit, but I'm assuming it was a little bit after. I don't know if it was before or after there was a message posted to stop purchasing.
Mhm.
So, but I bought and I held. I didn't sell anything. Like, I haven't sold or attempted to sell anything.
In your
So,
case, you're going to be entitled to something. I can't tell you exactly what.
no, I know you guys haven't figured out exactly what the compensation will be. I mean, I assumed it would be something like as far as how much we purchased based on what the price was supposed to be at that time, rather than what it was.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna. That's the thing. I mean, we're gonna try and figure something out for those, for people in your case, for sure. But we also don't want to be, for people who did a quick in and out, because they knew this thing was, because the first rally back was it's to be expected. Um, for those people, I don't want to, we don't want to sort of reward that kind of behavior.
Gotcha. All right, thanks.
Sure.
All right, let's move on to next questions.
Okay.
So, we had audits already in place before the launch. But Greg, what new audits will we have before the relaunch?
Okay, well, as Freddie mentioned, we're going to complete 2 audits before we relaunch. One of them is obviously Certic, and I do think it's worth mentioning here, for anybody who had any doubts about it. Certic 100% did their job. They flagged the issue. It was our developers who chose to ignore the issue, or well, they pretend to have forgotten about it. But anyway, Certic definitely did the job and did it very well. So Certic is going to be one of the auditors. The second one, we're currently in the process of shortlisting. So we'll have more news on that in the coming weeks as well. But we don't know yet which one. There's a lot of companies out there, as you know, and we're trying to find one which can live up to be of the same level of expertise as Certic, because anything else is probably not that useful. Yeah.
Okay, and some people also asking, because everyone's excited to get relaunched ASAP. Some people were asking, can the audits be fast tracked if we paid more to Certic?
I think, to be honest, not that I'm aware of. As far as I know, we're already on their highest paying package, and most importantly, we're doing a complete re-audit of the code internally first. And the last thing I want to do is rush an audit at this stage. So yeah.
Okay, now let's talk other ramifications. So, can lossless protocol be enabled on Crosswise, to mitigate the risk of another exploit?
To be honest, I'm not 100%. I'm not very familiar with lossless protocol. I'd have to give it to our devs and try to see what they know about it, and whether it's already in a state where it could work cross-chain, and whether it's mature enough to use in a production environment. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at a variety of things now as part of securing things to just try to overall improve the security of everything that we have.
All right, final question from the community, Greg. So people are asking, will I still need to withdraw unlocked tokens as before in regards to the pre-sale tokens, or will they just automatically land my wallet?
You don't need to at this stage, where we haven't 100% defined the mechanics of how we're going to do things, the distribution. But until we do know and we tell you or instruct you to do certain things, please don't do anything. Just leave things as they are. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to make it really easy for you guys to get your new tokens, so that maybe there isn't a withdrawal process or anything needed.
All right, those are all the community questions
Okay.
that we gathered, but we're still on, guys. And, I'd like to say a few words coming in and leading marketing for Crosswise. The reason we came out today is because we want to provide you guys full transparency. We want to dox ourselves, and we also want to reassure you that we are working as hard as possible to make things right. And, we're not going anywhere. We're still here. We're working. We're very much real people, just like you guys. And we're also facing, a roadblock on our end, which we're overcoming. and we need your full support to do so. So we're gonna leave the rest of the session open-ended. So if you guys do have any questions for us, please feel free to lay them down, and we'd be more than happy to take it from there.
Yeah, if anybody has a question, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
So hi Greg, I thought. Basically, also remembers the enemy because he doesn't want to dox his voice. So he was asking what are with 60? What they say deal still there? Like Marcel asked it in the chat. He asked me if I could ask it for you.
Oh, sorry, that was really broken off. Could you quickly repeat that?
Yeah, sure. It's a question from the main chat from in the Crosswise. The Marcel guy, he asked what are with the CEX deals? What did they say? Are the deals still there?
Well, the CEX deals are currently they're postponed. Obviously, you know, it's also by choice because I mean, if you can imagine, if you know, once you list on a CEX, you're getting a lot more volume. So any kind of if you have an exploit or something, everything takes on a different scale, and so the deals are still in place. We've definitely had to postpone things, but we will be pursuing them in the coming months. Does that
Was it
answer your
enough for you,
question?
Marcel? Let's see. Thanks. Okay, seems like it's okay for him.
Okay. Cool. Does anybody else have any other questions they want to ask? If not, we'll be closing soon. I just want to also thank you guys for you know for having stuck with us. I know things haven't been exactly smooth, and honestly, yeah, I'd be the first to be very frustrated by it as well. But things are looking up, and as Ted already mentioned, you know, do stick with us. Try to also you know, share your knowledge with other community members, newcomers who come in and don't really understand the situation. Try to get them up to speed, yeah, just let's grow as a community and make this happen. I think we've got all the ingredients. Sadly, we had a setback, but you know, I'm pretty sure we can pull this off. So Ted, I guess there's no more questions. I think we can close the chat.
Yep. Thank you very much, guys, for being with us today. And
Thanks, everyone.
we will be releasing a summary as a follow-up for those that were not with us today, so everyone is on the same page and as everyone is aware of what is going on. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, everybody.
We'll make the audio recording available on YouTube as well. So for anybody who wants to listen to it, which is easier, they can as well. Okay.
Okay, I will stop the recording. Thank you all. Bye.
All right. Thanks everyone for your time. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.